T-Dog, J-Boy, and me, I'm Lugs. Our pride and joy is pumping our mugs. Be careful, kids, it could get rough. We're flipping our lids on sports and other stuff.
Welcome to Sport Weasel Central. I'm Lugs.
I'm J-Boy.
And I'm T-Dog.
Yes, Carson has done Wentz to the Colts. The clock strikes 12 for Big Ben, or will he remain a Steeler? We'll talk that one out. J.J. Watt is a free agent. And in other sports news, if it was a fight, they would have stopped it. Louisville basketball gets drummed by North Carolina. And Tiger Woods has a severe car accident. We'll talk about that. But first, welcome into the podcast booth, everybody. He's the Hall of Famer, Lugs. Lugs, what's your hot take? Get us started.
I guess Carson Wentz, he won the big lottery ticket by going to Indianapolis because I don't think the man had any other place to go.
You think?
Because he proved himself to be just so destructive and corrosive in the locker room. I think his skills are still there. I just think he needs a babysitter. Because the man, has to get past that. I'm going to wait more than 3 seconds to throw the ball. That's why he's injured all the time. He's a goofball.
So it'll be Uncle Frank. Uncle Frank will be his babysitter.
I think that quarterback's coach, and I've forgotten his name, will be the babysitter. But it's a win-win. But Carson was the big winner in that deal.
I think it was a mutual win for the Colts and Carson, because without him, their first-round draft pick is 21st. There's a chance one of the top four slides, but I don't think any of the top four slide to 21, particularly when there's teams like the Bears who also are quarterback starved. So I think it works out. And kind of be fair to Lug's point, I think it works out because if Carson Wentz would have went to Chicago, I have no faith that he would have been able to resuscitate his career. I believe so much in Frank Wright. If you look at what he did in 2007, Carson Wentz is easily his best year. That was the year that Frank Wright was the last year he was the OC for the Eagles. And you look at what he got out of Andrew Luck, and obviously Andrew Luck had good years before that, but he played well with Andrew Luck. Philip Rivers' career was kind of resuscitated the 1 year he played with the Colts. So I just think Frank Wright has shown that he can develop an offense to work around the strengths and limitations of his quarterback.
Yeah. But this year, this coming season and off season are like the most dramatic for quarterback changes. I mean, it started with, Stafford and that whole thing with the Rams. Mm-hmm. But the one that really fascinates me is Dak Prescott. First of all, okay, they're going to tag him again. If they do tag him, he will be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL because it will come out to almost $50 million because it goes up 40%, and he's at $37 million now. So what I'm saying is, the powers that be at the Dallas, Jones specifically, is I always thought of as a good businessman. This is a terrible business move if they actually tag him, because after that, he is not coming back to Dallas because it will be done. If they brought him back and tried to tag him a third time, it would be like massive, the amount for 1 year. So I think that they need to push their egos aside and say, do we believe in this guy or not?
In or
but
out.
If I'm Prescott, I'm loving the fact that they're going to tag him again because he can rehab quietly and he's going to get a massive paycheck.
What's his timetable again, by the way? What's the timetable on Dak?
The last I saw was like mid-July would be when he would come back to practicing. I assume he's rehabbing crazily every day.
I don't know what the timetable is. All I know is it's in good enough shape that they want to reopen contract discussions. But to be fair to somewhat, I guess, what Lugs is alluding to, I find it troubling. They had a whole year and they're still like talking about contract negotiations. It's like, I mean, if you're Dak's side, you hold all the keys.
Yep.
I mean, you saw what happens when he's not there. I mean, I know they didn't win a lot of games with Dak when he played, but they were in every game and they fell off a cliff once he was lost.
Well,
And so I just think there is a chance that he might hit the market. I mean, I wouldn't have said that like a year ago, but I don't think, to be fair, what Lug says, I don't think they can afford, because obviously the salary cap with all the lost revenue is probably going to be down. And I don't know if you can take, and obviously the Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson contracts also has it, to be fair, what Lug's kind of alluded to, has inflated because you take like the top salaries and it's an average, I believe. The franchise tag is an average of the top ones.
Yeah.
So the average has gone up so high, and then on top of it, it's the second year you'd be tagging him. So I think there's a shot he hits the market. I still think it's small, but I think there's a window now that I didn't think there was.
Well, and I would say this about Dallas and its moves. You give Ezekiel Elliott a 6-year contract. Now, the average lifespan of a running back in the NFL is 5 years. You give him a good contract, and yet you don't take care of what arguably is the most important piece of a team, the quarterback. A quarterback who, from all indications, is a good steadying influence on the field and in the locker room. It's crazy to me.
Plus the cupboard's bare on other quarterbacks, right? Where are you going to get another one? With any?
Yeah, I agree with the sentiment Lugs had. I love running backs, but like that they gave so much money to Ezekiel. And you even saw at the end of the year where at the very last minute, Ezekiel, it was a scratch, I believe, against the 49ers. Tony Pollard came in. And Tony Pollard, the running back from Memphis, he had a hell of a game. Like, he's a very special talent that they got later in the draft, like just 2 years ago. So that you gave all this money to Ezekiel Elliott when you're not going to luck into a Dak Prescott in the 4th round like they did a lot.
Nope.
Like, and actually, funny enough, they wanted that in draft. They wanted to go with Paxton Lynch, who luckily Broncos took that bullet for him, who ended up never really doing anything.
And it wasn't a silver bullet either, was it? No.
And this is the thing. No. And then in terms of playing Russian roulette, they spun it again. They wanted Connor Cook. Raiders took that shot for him. And they were like, well, we'll settle on Dak. So it just shows you just how lucky you get. And they're bungling it now. So.
Well, and think about it. If they had a decent quarterback, I mean, seriously, one of us guys could have stepped in that division and quarterbacked the team, then better. I mean, come on.
No, I'm not going to go that far.
Daniel Jones is the most fumbling quarterback I've ever seen.
That's not true. It's not true.
Alex Smith is working with mechanical legs when they're working, but usually, this year they rusted up about the 14th week.
Mechanical legs.
I mean, come on. I'll just say this and I'll shut up. Jerry Jones is the worst head coach in the NFL. Mike McCarthy is not a head coach. It's always going to be Jerry Jones, and now his little son, who is a weasel.
Steven.
The only difference is he had a better wig.
But, McCarthy wears a nice windbreaker, doesn't he? That's a sweet profile right there.
Yeah, and he beards up pretty nice.
Beards up. What is that? I'm going to look that one up here.
He's sort of the Yasser Arafat of the NFL.
At some point, we lost control of the show, Doc.
It's gone off the rails.
All right, wait. I want to stop here for a second. Okay, the Eagles are trading quarterback Carson Wentz to the Colts for a 3rd-round pick this year and a conditional 2nd-round pick in 2022. All right, T-Dog, I'm going to put you on the clock for our listeners. This is Football 101. Define what a conditional NFL draft pick is. Ready, steady. Wait, let me get my clock going. Go.
Conditional pick is based on the parameters that are placed into it. If this thing happens at this amount, then it'll stay at this base level usually. If it exceeds that amount, then usually the pick will go higher. So in particular to the Carson Wentz one, it'll become a first round pick. The second round pick for next year will become a first round pick if he plays 75% of the snaps or 70% of the snaps and the team makes the playoffs.
All right.
So as long as those parameters are hit, it gets boosted to the first round.
So it could work out pretty well for the Eagles.
And actually, I want to talk about that. Look, Jalen Hurts showed flashes last year. And again, I'm not saying Carson Wentz didn't have problems he did, but even Jalen Hurts, I think, showed you there was bigger problems than just Carson Wentz. Like Jalen Hurts showed flashes, but he completed 52% of his throws in the 4 games he played. And the funny thing to me is, even though, again, I'm not going to defend Nate Sudfeld, even though I should, since he's an IU guy, but like that when people killed Peterson for putting in him, Jalen Hurts completed 35% of his passes. He was 7 for 20 in that game. It's not he was lighting the world on fire. Now, obviously, Nate Sudfeld to a degree was waving the white flag, but the way Jalen Hurts was playing, he wasn't making it a chance that they were actually going to win that game either. So,
yeah, it was just a sad thing to watch all of that. What I want to see is when Wentz comes back to Philadelphia to play, how many snowballs do you think are going to hit him if they have snow or fake snowballs? I mean, talk about they snowball Santa. They're going to just axe murder Carson Wentz. I mean, Philly cheese steak out of his thigh bones, you know.
Hello. I got a question for Lugs.
Yeah.
What if Carson Wentz's last name wasn't? Not Wentz, but wasn't. I'm going to hang up and list your answer. Bye.
Well, he wasn't ever in the race for anything that I know of, so that seems to be apropos.
Does he have mechanical legs? That's what I want to know about that, too.
Again, he's one of those guys that's been trying to grow a beard since the 8th grade and still hadn't quite made it. So.
We agree a lot or disagree a lot on Wentz, what he can be. You don't believe in Raw. I still believe in him, but I will co-sign on Lugs. That man should not grow facial hair. It's tragedy. It's an absolute tragedy.
This startling fact, too, the Colts have spent $99 million on quarterbacks since Andrew Luck left.
Wow.
There you go.
And so what happens to Jacoby Brissett? How do they restructure?
Right? I believe he's a free agent.
Yeah, he's not.
Yeah. So
his clock ran out there too.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right, J.J. Watt. How about that guy or Big Ben? Let's either one.
Let's go with Big Ben first.
Big Ben for 100. Alex, take it.
I'll start off. We came up with this idea the day before, and now it's a moot point to some degree. But still, it's interesting in that here's a guy who's had a storied career. He's won 2 Super Bowls for them, taken them to the playoffs. I don't know how many times. Probably statistically leads. I would assume he leads Pittsburgh in all categories of passing for the most part.
Well, Bradshaw might have a few, but you're
maybe
right.
Yeah.
18 years is a long time though for Big Ben. You're right. You're right.
But to hear some of the language that came from the owner and GM like a few weeks before, and I'll credit Brooke Pryor, ESPN. Art Rudy came out and said Big Ben's 2021 cap hit at $42.2 million is untenable. And then GM Kevin Colbert said, as we sit here today, Ben is a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they have to get their cap compliant with the new league year by March 17th. And currently, at the time of the writing of this article by Brooke Pryor, the Steelers were projected to be $22 million over it. So it sounded like today from both Art Rooney and player rep, whatever the hell that is.
Yeah, whatever that is.
They said he's going to come back, and I would assume he's going to be close to just $23 million. I think regardless if they cut him, they have to keep the $23 million. He'll play it around the $23 million, or maybe he restructures his contract so that the money will be spread out over multiple years after this one, so they can reduce the cap.
So it's a bargain for a Hall of Famer, right? Essentially.
Yeah.
Who may be average now, or